What is the least used Pokemon in every game by Pichupedia? I'm very excited to get into this one, man. Without further ado, jumping straight into it.
I don't know how many runs of the Pokemon games you'd realistically need to do to use every single Pokemon at least once, especially when you're not going for it, but the number has to be immense. I haven't done it, you haven't done it, we all have blind spots.
There's a lot of Pokemon I haven't used yet, man, so I'm curious as to see what is the least used in every game, and I want to see if it falls in line with the Pokemon I haven't used yet, or ones I have used and yeah, failed on me. Let's see how it goes.
But let's face it, some Pokemon are used a whole lot less than others. Maybe you are one of the few people who has never used an Eevee, but you're rare. The vast majority of players have used one of the Eeveelutions at least.
That's true, including myself.
So I was thinking,
I think I used each and every one of the Eeveelutions through a playthrough of mine. Maybe aside from Sylveon. I don't think No, I haven't used Sylveon yet. But aside from Sylveon, I've used Glaze. Did I use Glaze? Yes, I used Glaceon, Leafeon, Umbreon, Espeon, all of them. But I will say though, Flareon's the weakest of them. Flareon sucks, man. Flareon looks cool, man. Flareon's a fire type, and fire types are always bangers, but when it comes to him, man, he suck big time, not gonna lie.
The least used Pokemon in every Pokemon game. The anti-whatever Luxray and Staraptor are for Diamond and Pearl.
Yo, I think everyone used a Luxray and a Staraptor in the Sinnoh games, man. That was the thing.
Before we start, one simple rule. Only Pokemon available in the regional dex.
I haven't used Low
No
Kicks.
post-game exclusives. And with that, we start with nearly all Kanto-based games, because I think the answer is identical, no matter whether you're talking Red and Blue, Yellow, Fire Red or Leaf Green. And these games also beautifully illustrate how the search for the least used Pokemon is different from the weakest Pokemon or the hardest to catch Pokemon. After all, something like Caterpie may be very undesirable in the long run, but so many people start their playthroughs with one on their team every day. There is
That's
no
true.
way it's among the least used in the region. And on the other end of the spectrum, Dratini may be tricky to actually obtain, and all the way back in 1996, maybe it truly was the least used Pokemon, but nowadays people go out their way for a
Yeah, I
rare,
was about to
powerful
say that,
Pokemon
now I'm
like
glad he
no
said it.
questions asked. Same with Dreepy and Sword and Shield.
Yo, I never used the Milotic in Gen 3 though. Trying to get you. Oh my gosh. That's my best friend Muiz as well. We sat for hours on Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald trying to catch a damn Feebas. We were searching online like, how do you catch Feebas? And then apparently, you have to leave the area and re-enter the area and then fish on a certain spot in order to, I think he shows up on one block only within that route. That was sickening, man. Yo, I never caught Feebas in those games to this day. Thankfully, Feebas is a lot easier to obtain in the newer games, but yo, in Gen 3, jeez.
Milotic and Ruby and Sapphire. Getting them is a lot of trouble, but to many people, it's worth it.
I don't know, man.
You know what isn't worth it?
Milotic's
Collecting
awesome.
9,999 coins in the Cetlone Game Corner
Porygon.
just to get Porygon. At least from a battling perspective. The number of people that
Yep.
did this, I suspect, is all throughout the course of time pretty high. But the amount of people that actually use their Porygon actively, that can be a big number.
Yeah, I haven't used Porygon now that I think about it. No. Okay, in Fire Red, in the Kanto games, I haven't used Porygon. I've used him through a Sinnoh playthrough. I think there was a chick who gives you a Porygon. I used him there, and I evolved it into a Porygon Z. But I've never used one in the Kanto game, so maybe he's probably onto
Test to
something
see how
here.
dedicated you are to completing your Pokédex. It's not really meant.
What is that
Porygon-
thing called? Oh, OT,
a
Techno.
test. The test to see how dedicated you are to completing your Pokédex. It's not really meant to be battled with, especially not in the games where it can evolve. Not to mention that it's far more likely you obtain Porygon in the post-game rather than during your run, at which point its meager level 26 is another deterrent. There is some competition to Porygon's shaky title, but they honestly don't even come close, and rather than talk about them now, I want to save highlighting them for the games coming up. Such
Yo,
as, well, right now.
that's my first time seeing the Porygon sprite in Pokemon Yellow. You know, I've never caught a Porygon. I've never had the patience. I had the patience in Fire Red and Leaf Green, but not in Pokemon Yellow. That's my first time actually seeing its sprite.
Because like I said, Let's Go has a different winner. For Porygon is now simply a gift, not something you need to work hard for, and it can be found in the wild, meaning it's simply way more common at an appropriate level. And
I never played the Let's Go games, but for having Porygon show up in the wild, I don't think I've seen that since the Scarlet and Violet DLC. I think it was also in the Crown Tundra, if I'm not mistaken, but having Porygon in the wild is wild.
Still far from a powerhouse and attractive prospect, I would wager a decent number of Let's Go players gave it a shot from a sort of now or never perspective. And even if that number of players is still not very high, I would wager it's still more than what Tangela saw.
Hey yo, I never used Tangela on my Kanto team, man. Tangela, you got way late into the game after you would find and after you would get Vileplume, or if your starter was Venusaur, or if you had a Victory Bell. Yeah, I never had, or even Executor. Having Tangela was weak compared to them. I don't know, man.
Tangela is a contender and probably the winner if you only count easily available Pokemon.
Yes.
Weak, it's not really appealing, it doesn't evolve, it's the same type as a starter, and it's only obtainable late in the game once you already
Let me just see that. This guy had 314 ultimate balls. Yo! That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
And it's only obtainable late in the game once you already have Evolve. It's the same type as a starter, and it's only obtainable late in the game once you already have Surf. Who at that point makes room in their party for a Tangela?
Yep.
Very few people, that's who. But while in the original game it's at least saved by Porygon and it's even harder to get requirements, with that safety net gone, I think Tangela has to win out in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Next up, Johto, and here I think the answer between all games is identical.
Okay, let me guess quickly. It is either Wobbuffet or Misdreavus. One of those two. I don't know anyone who used the Misdreavus or Misdreavus, I don't know how they say, or what the official name is, but you catch that thing literally at the last parts of the game in Mount Silver, right at the end of the game, which is way after the Pokemon League, way after you beating all of the Kanto gym leaders as well, and the Johto leaders. Yeah, I don't know who used the Misdreavus on their team, man.
We don't include the remake-only evolutions that are now a part of the regional decks, despite not being available until the post-game of the
I wasn't actually counting the remakes, because I know Misdreavus later on in Gen 4 gets an evolution in Mismagius. So they probably would have used it in Gen 4, but in Gen 2, I don't think so, man.
Otherwise, it's easily them. So Tangrowth, Mamoswine, Lickilicky, Yanmega and Ambipom, out of which Tangrowth is probably the least used one.
No one used the Tangrowth, man. I don't know anyone who used the Wait, I used the Tangrowth. I used the Tangrowth once. I remember using a Tangrowth. But the thing is, yeah. People were using Yanmega back in the day. No one was using Lickilicky. I used the Ambipom as well. I used all of them except Lickilicky. Yeah.
Fitting. But okay, what if this doesn't count? Well, then the answer is another boring one.
Misdreavus. Porygon!
It's 999 coins in the Celadon Game Corner this time around, but you truly can't do it until the post-game here.
Okay.
And your team is already far beyond settled and way higher level than this Porygon will ever be. Although I guess technically that means Porygon 2 is now the winner, since the number of people who ever evolved their Porygon has to be even lower than those that obtained Porygon after all.
Needed to trade with an upgrade.
That's also a boring answer. Let's also rule that one out and talk about what is effectively the third least used Pokemon.
Tangela.
And that is another Mon that was competition for Porygon in Kanto.
Mr. Mime.
Mr. Mime.
Ah, Mr. Mime is.
Only one was available through trade, but at least it was relatively early in the game, so I can imagine some folks added it to their team for a bit. In Gold and Silver though, it is only found on Route 21, which is the same location as Tangela actually. But while the grass weakling is at least common,
I don't know why
Mr.
they did
Mime
that.
is also
Maybe it was a shout out to the anime because Ash's mom had a Mr. Mime that was living with her, and Route 21 is right next to Pallet Town, so maybe that's the reason.
They're at 5%. So let me summarize. Mr. Mime is weak, post-game only, late post-game at that, found that a route you may not even bother checking out this late in the game.
Is Mr. Mime really weak? I don't know, man. I don't know.
Late post-game at that. Found that a route you may not even bother checking out this late in the game.
I don't know if Mr. Mime is weak. I did use it in the Kanto games, but it wasn't weak. It was actually pretty cool. I took that thing all the way to the league one time, and I played through Fire Red and Leaf Green so many times.
And is also rare on said route. Yeah, that's just not gonna happen. But okay,
in Gen 2
you could make the argument that in any other game, Mr. Mime wouldn't have been in the regional decks, seeing as it is exclusively found in the post-game Kanto rather than Johto itself. So what truly is the least used Pokemon in mainland Johto? Well, I would say the answer has to be Delibird, for basically the same reasons.
Delibird!
Gimmicky, it doesn't evolve, and it isn't available
Delibird,
until Ice Path,
definitely.
which within Johto is one of the later areas in the game.
I don't know who the hell was using a Delibird on their team, man. I totally forgot about Delibird. The only move that thing knew was Presence. I think it would learn TMs as well. I don't remember. But yo, that thing was useless, man.
If you are really dying to add a non-evolving Ice type to your team here, Sneasel and Jinx are surely the more likely and popular picks. But do they have gimmicky attacks that might heal the opponent?
I don't know about Sneasel, man.
Things get a little easier when we get to Hoenn, because starting in Ruby and Sapphire, hard cutoffs are made and the idea of a true regional dex becomes standard. These games also don't really have a Porygon, both literally and in terms of a terrible effort versus worth it balance. Yeah, Milotic is a nightmare to get, but I think that for a significant amount of people, it's worth it, like I said before.
How
So
did this guy
instead,
do
we need to look at the holy trifecta of what makes an overlooked Pokemon. Weak, doesn't evolve, unexciting. Names like Volbeat,
Spinder.
Nosepass,
I think it's Spinder. He's probably gonna mention Spinder.
and especially Love Disc immediately come to mind. But I
Oh, and Love Disc as well. Could I forget Love
give them
Disc?
credit. At the very least, unappealing as they are, they were new at the time. They're Hoenn Pokemon.
You know, when I was playing Pokemon competitively, I can't even speak right now. When I was playing it competitively, right, I was facing someone that had a Love Disc. Bloody hell, that Love Disc was a beast, man. Using Attract, and that thing was a beast. I had my entire team on a chokehold. I needed my Electivire to take that thing out, but it was still hanging in there, and it had a Focus Sash as well, chilling, and yeah, that thing was powerful, man. I'll never forget that. That was one of the best experiences I had with the Love Disc.
Is their game.
It really earned my respect on that day.
It at the very least has appeal to some people. They're also quite easy to get, although Love Disc is definitely too late in the game for how weak it is.
Facts.
But I think one Pokemon is probably
Corsola.
even less used, and that is Corsola. Everything that applies to those past nominees also applies to Corsola.
Yeah, he's not wrong. No one was using Corsola in Gen 2 as well, man. I don't know a single person that used Corsola except Misty from the anime. Yeah, I think that's it. No one used Corsola. Like,
Not only is it not new, it is also very late game, requiring the Super Rod to get first, and then
Yep.
using it near Evergrande City.
yep.
That's like one victory road away from the league. Who at that point,
Literally.
after all that surfing across Hoenn you have already done, is still in the market for a
This
used...
dude's, he's Ninjask is at level 90, man. Yo, I can't believe it. Level 90 Ninjask. Imagine all that grinding he had to go through.
water Pokemon that is 4 times weak to grass. Not Sapphire players, they just got Kyogre, not anyone who started with Mudkip, so that just leaves the absolute Corsola superfans, and I don't think they really exist. I will say though, due to Oras adding Corsola to underwater routes, it is at least a little more common now.
Yes.
Maybe not enough to actually see any usage, but I do want to highlight one more other nominee exclusively for Oras. Frostlass. First of all, Snorunt is a late game.
Oh my god, man. Snorunt. Oh. That thing. Oh my gosh. Snorunt was a pain to catch. You had to catch this thing in Shoal Cave. I think it's Shoal Cave. And a cave with ice type Pokemon. But you needed to wait for the ocean to be at a low tide in order to get in. Yo, and if the battery ran dry on your Game Boy Advance, you were not catching this thing, man. Jeez, it was a pain to get this
And you
Snorunt.
need a female Snorunt, which is 50-50, so not terrible, but still. A
female
Dawnstone
one.
is also required, which will probably be found for the first time in Victory Road, which is obviously really late to be hauling a Snorunt around.
Yep.
And to make matters even worse, you must also actively resist evolving it into Glalie, which also means using Mega Glalie.
Oh, man.
Surely, if you catch a Snorunt in Oras, you're gonna go to Mega Glalie over regular Frostlass, right?
Yep. Thankfully, Frostlass has a Mega Evolution now in Legend ZA. Of all the faults that ZA has, Frostlass's evolution, Mega Evolution, is not one of them.
I would think so. I would wager many people would. But I guess that maybe Frostlass is popular and strong enough to still find its
Oh, it's popular, alright. Amongst the Gooners. The Gooners love this Pokemon, man.
way into more teams than Corsola or Loftis did. But I thought it was an interesting nominee regardless. On to Frostlass's region of origin, Sinnoh, where all games share the same winner. One Pokemon that immediately
Munchlax.
comes to mind here is Snorlax, simply because of how ridiculously difficult it is to get Munchlax in this game.
Yeah, you had to use a honey tree in order to get this thing, man. It was a pain. Huh? And the fact is, it has an incredibly high catch, well, a low catch rate, so it's hard to catch. Even worse.
However, I think that this is one that's currently so notorious, it actually encourages some folks to try it, and we shouldn't forget that Snorlax is also a very popular Pokemon.
Yeah.
That encourages this even further. As such, while Munchlax is definitely far from a commonly used Mon in Sinnoh, I still think more people have had it on their team, and also for longer too, since Snorlax is really strong, than names like Unknown and Wormadam. Burmy is also really not that easy to get, and Wormadam is easily the least popular option.
Wormadam is so weak.
Unknown is an older Pokemon with a very limited gimmick, who I feel that at this point had kinda lost their mystique.
Unknown.
Just regular Pokemon. And yet, I still wouldn't call it the winner.
Unknown.
There is no logical reason why Mantike of all Pokemon
Oh,
is locked
Mantike.
until you've beaten all 8 gyms, when Mantine is so weak. The same type as a starter.
Hey!
And you also need a Remoraid in your party to evolve it.
Hey, you're not gonna. I don't appreciate the Mantine slander. Mantine is a strong Pokemon. I've used him in Gen 2. He was one of my MVPs in Gen 2. So I'm not gonna appreciate. I'm not gonna. He's not weak. He's powerful, man. Powerful. Yeah, he can be taken out by one electric type attack because he's a water and flying type. But yeah, I'm not gonna accept that slander, man. Mantine, almost said Mantike. Mantine is awesome.
Oh, and Mantike also only has a 10% chance of showing up in the first place, so it is entirely plausible you cross Route 223 without even
Yeah.
seeing it.
True.
Sure, it may evolve, and Mantine is not as useless as Corsola was, but just like with its fellow Johtomon, I can't imagine people uprooting their team this late to add such a weak Pokemon to the mix. And it's not
Yeah,
exactly
to be honest with you, I won't use Mantine in Gen 4 though. Mainly because I have so much nostalgia for Gen 2 and using Mantine in Gen 2. I'd rather do it in Hard Gold and Soul Silver instead of Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. So that's just me personally.
either, you know, the kind of Pokemon where you might trade it to a friend so they can play their entire journey with it, if you get what I mean. Next up is Unova, where we of course separate the two games as they have vastly different regional dexes.
I'm gonna say Durant and Heatmore are the most unused. Either that or Vullaby and Rufflet, because those two flying types are late game additions, but they're only evolving in their 50s, man. How can you get a flying type and be evolving in your 50s in the 50s? Like it's absolutely absurd. I
The
don't know
original
what the
Black and White
developers were
kept it simple
thinking.
with only Gen 5 Pokemon, many of which evolved so late that I can kinda see why you would even change your team up.
Hydreigon, I think Zweilous evolves into Hydreigon, I think at level 61 or 64, I think. Yeah, around about there. That is absurd.
Still in this game. Say you evolve your Rufflet into Braviary and don't like what you see, or it's simply taking you too long.
Yep.
Then yeah, you might still make the change to another Pokemon.
I wanted Braviary in my first playthrough. Yeah, I had Rufflet on. I caught Rufflet just before Victory Road. struggling to level that thing up, and eventually I just gave up on it, and then I kept my Unfezant that I had all this time, which was a bad choice. Unfezant is not a pleasant Pokemon, man.
Will that Pokemon be Heatmore though? Probably not. As a one-stage mon, Heatmore is already kinda screwed, and while it isn't super weak, it's definitely not catch it in Victory Road and use it.
I knew he was gonna mention
It's
Heatmore.
really pushing it, I'm sorry.
And Durant as
It
well.
also doesn't help that it has the same type as a starter and Reshiram, which is something its competition like Cryogonal and Alomomola don't have to deal with.
Because if you already have a powerful fire type in Imbo, why would you want to use Heatmore, you know what I'm saying?
Much earlier at least. And while I don't have to tell you Alomomola is not exactly a series mascot, I can still imagine more people give it a shot than Heatmore.
Alamomolo is a better Pokemon than Loftis. It looks like Loftis. It could be a Loftis evolution. That's what everyone thought it was when they first saw it, but yeah, it's a better Pokemon than Loftis, that's for sure.
At least Durant has a more unique typing and doesn't share it with Pokemon you'll most likely already have.
Bug and Steel, not that unique. I mean, you have Excavalier that has it as well, and you've got, what's the other one? Scizor, also Bug and Steel. One fire type move is taking those dudes out, man. Yeah, that's for sure.
About to get it. In the sequels though, we have such a massively expanded dex to work with that Heatmore is off the hook. And while I would love to highlight a whole bunch of rarely used Pokemon, I think there is only one true winner here.
Oh no.
And that is none other than Carnivine.
No!
This was a good idea. Carnivine is a Pokemon we can all agree is forgettable, right?
Wait, what? What did you just say?
Oh, this was a good idea. Carnivine is a Pokemon we can all agree is forgettable, right?
No, dude. No. Carnivine. Too much slander in this video. Calm yourself down, Minhaj. Calm yourself down. Carnivine is awesome. Once again, during my playthrough of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, I used the Carnivine, and that thing was awesome, man. That thing helped me out during the league, Pokemon League, when I went up against Bertha and all of her ground types. Carnivine is cool, man. I don't accept this slander. And James's Carnivine in the anime was actually pretty memorable, man. So, yeah, I'm tired of the Carnivine slander. Carnivine and Mantine slander in one video. Jeez.
Strong, it's not popular, it doesn't evolve, and it's once again the same type as a starter.
I will say Carnivine does need an evolution, though.
That's already not looking too good. So why then is Carnivine such a late find in Black and White 2? It only lives on Route 18, which is a route completely out of the way, borderline post-game in fact, meaning that in the Dex it is right next to mons like Tyranitar and even Zekrom and Reshiram. It's even later than Heatmore, mind you, for a Pokemon that is arguably even worse and definitely less exciting, seeing as
I remember in the Black 2 and White 2 games, I know you can only catch Carnivine after you beat the league, if I'm not mistaken, so yeah.
Last gen, and was way more common.
I wouldn't use Carnivine in Gen 5 though, Gen 4, yes.
Most Pokemon in this video, I would wager at least someone has used. They may be the least used, but someone surely tried them at least once.
Damn right.
I don't know about this one. I wouldn't be surprised if no one ever used Carnivine in Black and White 2. But feel free to prove me wrong.
Not in Black and White 2.
X and Y really threw open the floodgates for past Pokemon to crowd up the decks. And that means that basically every new Pokemon from here on out is off the hook. With so many...
I'm gonna go with Carbink. In the X and Y games, Carbink. I don't know a single soul that used a Carbink on their team.
Pokemons available on every new generation, it's surely one of those that will see the least amount of usage. But it can still factor in. Take Hunter and Gorbis, for example. They're definitely a bit of a hassle. Don't get me wrong, it's not difficult. Catching Clamperl's doable, the evolution items have
It's a hassle getting Clamperl, Hunter, and Gorbis in Gen 3 as well. Yo, if you are like me and couldn't trade with people, yeah, it was a hassle.
Places you can find them, and trading is probably easier here than it has ever been. But the question still remains, who is really doing this? Who played through X and Y with a Hunter or a Gorbis on their team?
I'd love to do that
I will
sometime.
say though, the fact that it is relatively easy in this game might help their chances, as this previously was quite tricky, so I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt, because I think there are even less popular Pokemon in the Kalos waters.
I like Huntail though.
It got off easy in Hoenn, I don't think it's getting off easy here. Sure, it may be common and easy to get, but with so
Don't
many
think it got
Pokemon
off easy in
available,
Hoenn
I
either.
cannot imagine this of all Pokemon is the water type you gravitate towards. There are so many water types in X and Y, including new faces.
Who the hell is using a love disc in X and Y anyway? I don't know anyone who's using a love disc in the Kalos games. I'd use Clample over these dudes any day.
Megas and 2 starters that I just can't see Luvdisc getting any usage from
But
anyone.
then again, why would you want to use any of the water types in X and Y when Greninja exists? Greninja is one of the most popular Pokemon of all time.
It got off by the skin of its teeth in Hoenn, but I truly can't overlook it now. If you ever wanted to use Luvdisc, you did so in Hoenn. I don't think you would use it in Kalos again.
Yep.
So, would you then use it again in Alola?
Nah.
Well, probably not. Just like I can't imagine many people using Luvdisc in Kalos that
I'd rather use Bruxish than Luvdisc. And Bruxish is one of the most ugliest water types. Heck, one of the most ugliest Pokemon of all time, but I'd rather use that over Luvdisc in the Alola games.
goes twice over for Alola. But there is one very simple thing saving Luvdisc. Sure, it may be weak and unexciting and unappealing, but at least it's quite common. Fishing on both Alola's Route 9 and Melemele Sea's bubbling spots, Luvdisc has the highest chance to show up, even higher than Magikarp. So I estimate that at the very least, some people out there were forced to pick up a Luvdisc in a Nuzlocke or gave it a chance simply because it was at least a relatively early mon with easy accessibility.
Still gotta do a
Rather,
Nuzlocke though.
I think more people did that than use a Relicanth. Not only is Relicanth another Pokemon of the Holy Trifecta, weak, unpopular, single stage, it's also very rare in both Sun and Moon and the Ultra variants. It is available in exactly one location.
Relicanth is awesome
and has a
though.
1% chance of showing up through regular fishing, which is up to 10% in bubbling spots.
But once again, one grass type move will take that thing out in a heartbeat. It's a water and a rock type, so you can imagine.
That may sound like a decent chance, but it's really not. Not unless you're actively looking for one at least, which I don't think many people have done for the purpose of strengthening their team. Especially when you consider that while the exact location changes between games, Relicanth is only ever found on Pony Island, which is a late game location.
Ah, that is
Its
late
level though
on.
could be anything between level 10 and level 49. Sword and Shield continues the trend of massive rosters with all kinds of
Let me guess. Sword and Shield. Pincurchin. Pincurchin, without a doubt. No one was using Pincurchin on the
available
team.
Pokemon, especially when you consider the DLC, which I didn't. I did contemplate making the DLC decks as separate entries for the free
I don't
games.
understand the hate these games get, man. Yo, this game was awesome. I really enjoyed Sword and Shield. I played through it multiple times.
DLC, but I think it's too hard to estimate what people might gravitate towards while
Especially
playing
the
these,
DLC.
so I decided not to. Only base Sword and Shield counts as such. This is a very tricky one though, because starting with this game, the moment you walk into the wild area, you could technically join a raid of just about any Pokemon and get it super early, making even late game mons that at first sight look unappealing, the target for a player who just happens to come across
Oh,
one.
Colossal's one of my
So I started
favorites.
thinking, if everything is reasonably available, what are you least likely to gravitate towards? And the answer I landed on is the old forms of Pokemon that received Galarian forms. Think
Oh,
about it. If you want to use a Rapidash, surely you're gonna use the new one. Especially when you consider these old variants are not so easy to obtain. In fact, some aren't even available without trading. Especially some who would normally be great candidates, like regular Zigzagoon, Corsola, Stunfisk,
he
and
makes a good
Alolan
point.
version.
yeah, I was one of them, man. I wanted to try out the newer form so badly. I got myself a Galarian Zigzagoon, yo, and a Galarian Darmanitan as well. Yo, my team was dripped out. Yo,
And while those may be out, Persian has another variant, the regular Cantonian form. And that one
Berserker
is natively
was
available
awesome.
in the game through trading with an NPC. However, I would be shocked if many people used it.
I don't think anyone did.
Especially when you consider that Cantonian Meowth actually received a special Gigantamax form through an event, and I can imagine that anyone interested in using Cantonian Persian instead gravitated towards either Berserker or G-Max Meowth, which can't evolve.
I like the Gigantamax form of Meowth, you know. Kind of reminds me of a cat when you lift a cat up by its arms and its whole body becomes all long and lanky. Reminds me of that.
Who had enough motivation to ditch that special Meowth, trade themselves a new one, evolve it into Persian, and then use it? No one, that's who. Persian was simply a dex requirement this time around. I doubt it got any usage by anyone ever.
Well, he's
We
not
go
wrong.
from one of the largest regional dexes to one of the smallest decks for Legends Arceus.
Yo, I
This
love
is a
Legends
very tricky one
Arceus.
because catching
There's
everything,
Carnivine.
even using everything, is very much
That's my goat. My goat right there. Oh, one of my goats. He's not my favorite grass type, but he's one of my favorites.
part of the game here. It's what you're meant to do. As such, this game's winner might just be the most used Pokemon out of all of them. And it's exactly that idea that led me to a place I wasn't really expecting to go for this video. You see, legendaries may be very late game additions, but they're super cool, very popular and also very strong. So I would imagine many people use them for post-game activities. But there is one legendary I'm not so sure people would use en masse,
Slickback.
especially in a game like this. And that is Phione. It is in the regional decks, it is easily accessible, and yet I don't
Who's
think
gonna use Phione when Manaphy exists? Like, Phione is the lesser of the two. I don't understand why. I never used Phione on my team. He's mentioning a mythical Pokemon now. And if I did try use Manaphy, it was briefly, but Phione never.
P1 rush to their party to add Phione in it. It has direct superior competition in Manaphy,
Yep.
and since it is a legendary, it also has very little research tasks left to do. So the moment you catch it, you have completed it as far as the game really requires. That's different from normal Pokemon, where catching one specimen is usually not enough. As such, it is one of the few Pokemon in the entire game that you don't really need to use in order to fill up its dex entry, at least without catching a gazillion. And from there is no denying that Phione is so unpopular and unexciting that very little people would use it out of their own volition.
Yeah, I don't
Then we
see
have
myself
Scarlet and
using
Violet,
it.
which has a blueprint similar to Sword and Shield, in the sense that raids make basically every Pokemon accessible from possibly a very early point. And the open world nature of the game also means there technically aren't even late game areas. Sure, there is Area 0, but the only Pokemon exclusive to that location are the Paradox Pokemon, and those get plenty of usage. One idea I did have was Volcarona, seeing as if you were considering using that, surely you would gravitate towards either Sliverwing or Iron Moth instead, meaning that no matter what version of the game you have, Volcarona is not too appealing. Except Larvesta is found way earlier in the game, in Asado Desert.
Yo,
where you
why am I feeling so sleepy, man? What the heck?
instead, meaning that no matter what version of the game you have, Volcarona is not too appealing. Except
No way, man. Volcarona is awesome. One of the strongest fire types, one of the strongest bug types I've ever come across. Yeah, but okay, maybe that's the case in Gen 5. Okay, maybe he's onto something because I don't know a single person that used Volcarona in Scarlet and Violet. Yeah, I don't know a single person that had. And that's a really strong Pokemon, man.
Larvesta is found way earlier in the game, in Asado Desert, before you can ever know these two exist, at least your first time playing. So Volcarona is in the clear. Instead, I think I just have to look at the Paldea decks and pick the least popular Pokemon, the one you are least likely
Oricorio.
to use. And my answer there would be Pincurchin.
That's what I mentioned. I mentioned Pincurchin. Even in the Galar games, man. I don't know anyone that was using this useless
Terribly
thing.
weak, no interesting gimmicks or type, not a new Pokemon introduced in Scarlet and Violet, and it has a pretty low probability of appearing in basically
Oh,
every location.
okay. I see what criteria he's going with. Maybe because it was newly introduced in Sword and Shield. Maybe there's a possibility that someone would want to use it. But in Scarlet and Violet, I don't see people using Pincurchin. What a useless Pokemon, man. I tried using it myself, didn't work out, and I boxed that thing.
The sole exception is the Terra Pincurchin, but that one is on Glaciado Mountain, and while you can go everywhere you want in Paldea, I doubt that's your first stop.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, I do feel like I can't be super confident in this pick being the one and true winner. I can at least say with confidence that I doubt Pincurchin got a ton of usage in Scarlet and Violet runs. And finally, we have Legends EA, which is another super difficult one because the Lumiose Dex is very small, the new battle style makes a lot of old familiar Pokemon interesting to try out, and a tremendous number of Mon also now have Mega Evolutions to look out for. Not to mention, the game doesn't actually have any brand new Pokemon, so everyone is on equal ground, to some extent at least. And I also feel like many players naturally drifted towards using Kalos Pokemon, so while several of those do tend to be a little forgettable, like Carbink or Klefki, they are still in the clear based on that. But I ended up with two candidates that I think are pretty clearly.
I still don't know who the hell is using Carbink, even though it's a Kalos Pokemon, man. Like, that thing is useless.
Standouts in a forgettable sense of the word. Delibird and Emolga. Both don't evolve, both are far from brand new, both are not really all that good, and both are not really consistently available until later in the game.
I only found myself using an Emolga in the Gen 5 games. My first playthrough I used Emolga. Regretted it because it wasn't too strong. Yeah, I would never use Emolga in Legends ZA, that's for sure. And Delibird speaks for itself.
They do both live on rooftops, but whether you come across them is partly luck as a result. It's not guaranteed. I feel like these two are very close, there's not a lot to split them, but just purely based on popularity and usefulness in battle, I have to say Emolga is probably the more likely one to end up used, so Delibird wins the title. It is available a little earlier, but the difference is much, and Emolga at least has more places around the city where it's found too. So after all these generations of being a considered candidate, Delibird finally wins one. Congratulations are in order.
Congrats to you,
Delibird. If you ever
Delibird.
use any of these winning Pokemon, and which would you never consider using? Share it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe.
That was a W video, man. Wait, what is the most disappointing Pokemon of every generation? I want you to act to that one next. But those were some solid picks, man. He's not wrong. A lot of the ones you were spot on about, except two. Mantine Slander and Carnivine Slander. I don't accept those. Those are two Pokemon that I hold near and dear to my heart. I've used them throughout my playthroughs. They've beaten the hell out of all the Pokemon in the league. Yeah, they're actually pretty cool, man. They're pretty cool. So aside from those two, you were spot on about the others. But yeah, W, I can't even speak. I think it's because I'm a little sleepy, man. W video by Pichupedia, man. I'm gonna check out more of his content in the future. Solid video, I love it.